under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Report of any executive sessions?
No.
Public comment?
Morning, George.
Good morning. George Stankovich, Palo Alto. Once again, I'm here for the senior citizens and veterans of our county and our United States of America. First of all, I'd like to know, did they find out how many homeless count?
They're still working on it.
Still working on it. So that'd be nice to know. I hope it's an accurate count because I know there's going to be more than what they're saying. But besides that, I asked a question, and a few other ones in here asked a question. Why did we pick the assessment team that we are? I see he's here. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of anybody.
Okay, first of all, George, you shouldn't be afraid of anybody.
I'm not.
Or afraid of Tim, or afraid of anybody.
Well, but I'm just saying, this is what happens to people out there. They are afraid. They are afraid. That's why they're not in here talking. There's only a few people that will speak their mind, and if they're within reason, they can say whatever they want. And I'm just saying, this is ridiculous. This assessment is ridiculous. I said it from the first time I came into this place. It's a ridiculous thing right now. I understand you need money to run the county, but, and that's a big but, there's people that can't afford the taxes that they're already paying. And now the little increase, that 2.5%, is falling. We're falling so far behind with these poorer class people that work, and I'm talking about the ones that work for a living. They are losing their homes. I don't know what I have to say up here. I don't know what I have to do, but I'm tired of this. And since this gentleman is here today, you can never answer the question, or you didn't want to answer the question. Why did Vision change their name 2, 3, 4 times in their business? They have changed their name for a reason. There's a reason out there, and we don't know about it, and we should know about it. And if there was a lower price bid out there, we should have went with that lower price bid in the first place. And I'm tired of this. People are losing their homes. We're not even getting to the assessment, and they're losing their homes. And I'm telling you, this is not right. And then we have a government that's trying to stop different programs. They're not using their heads. They're just going and trying to do stuff. Now we're finding out, well, now they're seeing that they're getting a lot of complaints from all the states. And that's what's happening. They're stopping this nonsense. And it has to stop. People are paying into the system looking for a fair shake, and they don't get a fair shake. They're under the poverty limit, and they can't afford any more taxes or any type of bills. This is ridiculous. You can't even go get a dozen of eggs now. It's going to go outrageous. This is nuts. This is actually nuts. And people are making $100,000, $200,000 or more are paying the same price for any object out there, gas, and that's where people are saying, where's the fairness? Where's the fairness? I'm tired of this. It's nonsense.
Any other public comment?
Morning, Susan.
Good morning. Do you need my name, or shall I have to
Name
see
and
it?
municipality.
Pardon?
Name and
And then,
municipality.
okay, Susan Graver, Tremont. Gentlemen, as you know, last year, as a consultant, I reviewed files for tax claim delinquent properties known in Schuylkill County vernacular as coal lands. On or about July 10th, 2024, upon the conclusion of the contract, I submitted a report to the county manager and the 3 county solicitors, who unfortunately are not here today, with a request to me to discuss my findings and to proffer suggestions to facilitate sales such as for demolition. To date, I have received neither acknowledgement of receipt nor response of any kind to my report. So for today, I would appreciate a simple yes or no answer to 2 questions. And since the solicitors are not here, but Gary is here.
Our solicitor is here.
Well,
Sure.
okay, but the 3 solicitors, I'm talking about Mr. Marshall, Mr. Dottie, and Mr. Rice.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Well, Mr. Marshall's no longer, he's only part-time.
Well, I know that, but
Okay.
he was part of this. Firstly, I would like to know if this recipients had sufficient time to review the report, which again, I cannot get an answer to that today. And I can't get an answer to the second question either, since they're not here. But secondly, if they have had a sufficient time to review the report, has there been any determination as to the content of the report? So I will have to put those questions to Gary, and I would appreciate if you could follow up.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, Susan, I'll make sure those messages get to Mr. Dottie and Mr. Rice and they can answer on
Yeah,
them, okay?
okay, all right, and Mr. Marshall.
And Mr. Marshall,
And
yes,
Mr.
absolutely.
Any other public comment?
I'd like to, if I could, Mr. Chairman. For those of us who are old-fashioned, still get your news from the newspaper, not online. Today's Herald Republic had a nice story in. It's a shout out. This is for Abigail Abbey Garrity. She's the daughter of Heather, who's with us here. She's part of our HR department, and also Rich Garrity. And last week was the Pennsylvania State Association County Fairs Convention down in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which I attended. I formerly worked with Governor Corbett 2011 2014 was fair administrator, so I traveled all 106 fairs across the state and worked with them on their fair funding. And the PASCF during a Thursday night banquet honors youth volunteers. The 106 fairs are divided into 4 zones, and our fair school was in zone 1. And each year they apply for a youth volunteer scholarship, and this is the first time the school has received one. And it happened to be Abigail Abbey Garrity, and we're kind of proud of that. It's the Father Mignot Memorial Scholarship. He was actually a Catholic priest who served on the state fair board for most of his life and was very instrumental in promoting the fairs in Pennsylvania. This is the first time Schuylkill has won the award. It's been, I'm talking to Paul Kennedy, they've applied numerous times. This is the first time Schuylkill received the scholarship. And Heather Abbey's jobs included being a ticket collector. She works in the fair food stand, and I want to make sure, note there that really good chili if you go to the fair. And she also does ag education, and she works in the barns, and when they bring in young children that have questions about the animals and the rabbits and horses, Abby helps explain to the kids what it's all about. So we're kind of proud of Abigail. She's a 2024 graduate of Pottsville High School. She's attending college Richard Cordia. She's also a pretty good softball player, right, Mom? So, and congratulations to Abigail and to Heather and her husband Rich on this great moment. If you happen to get a copy of the paper, here's I was down, that's me and the fair queen from the Schuylkill County Fair with Abby receiving the scholarship check. So, anyhow, thanks for the embellish, okay, sir?
So just want to congratulate Abigail on her award. That's great that it's from Schuylkill County, from our Schuylkill County Fair. So, plus 480.
It's absolutely, it's always good to see youth in our county because I know working with them through the Youth Summit, there's a lot of bright energy growing, and again, they're our future. So congratulations, we're very proud of her.
Thank you.
Very, very proud.
And this year's fair queen is Shauna White, she's a Schuylkill Haven lady, right, Barry?
Mhm.
Yeah. And we in 2013. And Schuylkill County is a very young fair. Some of the fairs are 150 years old. We were only in our 30th anniversary. But in 2013, we had a state fair queen, which is another feather in the hat for our school. So, like you say, I met Shauna, and she said nice things to say about Mr. Hess. So.
Is there any other public comment? Tim, do you want to get done?
Good morning, everyone. Tim Barr with Vision Government Solutions Incorporated. And before I get into my report, truth of board is a vacuum, so I want to sort of give George some answers. I know where the confusion comes from about the name. Vision's name hasn't changed. Tim Barr has been doing this 40 years. I worked for my grandfather's company, 21st Century Appraisals, until my dad retired. Then me and 3 other employees created Evaluator Services and Technology 14 years ago, continued doing the same work. 4 years ago, our company was bought by Vision Government Solutions, and we all now work for Vision. So there's only one company that's doing the reassessment. They haven't had any name changes. Tim Barr, over my 40 years, has worked for 3 different companies in a progression from this. So I think that's where the confusion comes from on the name. And as to lowest bid,
How long has it been, Tim? Vision, how long has it been Vision?
Vision's been around for 30, 40 years.
How about here?
They used to do most of their work in New England, not so much in Pennsylvania. That's partly why they bought us, was because we're the leading, we being the former EST people, were the leading vendor in Pennsylvania for this kind of work. And the proposal to the county, actually, when you look at the total cost and the things that are included, was the least expensive over time of the 3 proposals that were received. But if there's any other questions, don't ever hesitate to ask. And I'm one of those kind of people that will speak truth to power. So I am never offended if somebody wants to say, hey, I don't agree, don't be afraid of me. I will always speak truth to anybody, and I say that to anybody else. So some project updates for you. Hopefully the folks in some of the areas that didn't get their data verification mailers have received those now, or will be receiving those this week.
I didn't get mine yet.
Okay, but they went in the mail on Monday. So an additional 13,700 residential data verification mailers went out on Monday. To date, from the original 42,000 that we sent, 5,300 property owners have contacted us through email, mail, or other communication. Now, to be honest, some of those are probably repeats, people that sent us an email and mailed us back their form. But a 12.6% response rate is pretty good. I like to see people engaging. Whatever they're telling us about their property that we didn't know or had wrong, that information gets adjusted and corrected in the system. So that's an important thing. And that last big batch of residentials has now been mailed. There are stragglers that will go out over the course of the next week or so, mostly mobile homes. There's not as much to deal with on the mobile homes. Public meetings. We will be having public meetings. It's planned for sometime in March. We don't have dates yet. In Blue Mountain, Tamaqua, North Schuylkill, Pine Grove, Pottsville, and in those 5 areas in March, we're going to have reassessment informational meetings. We're going to encourage everybody to come attend these. They'll be in the evening, but not so late that people can't make it for work or have to stay out. Usually they typically end up starting around 7 o'clock. And there'll be 45 minutes of explanation and 45 minutes or more of Q&A. So potentially lots of information there. The primary purpose of those meetings is to help people know what the process was, answer questions about the process in terms of both value and the informal review and appeal steps. People want to know, what do I do if I think the value's wrong? What do I do if I think it's not worth this? Do I have to get an appraisal? Do I have to file an appeal? And there's answers to all of those questions. And they're not as onerous as most folks assume them to be. So those meetings are for us to help educate your constituents in what is the next step. Because when we send the preliminary values out, we'll go immediately into what we call informal reviews. And that's where people can call and make an appointment to talk to someone over the phone or to come in for a sit down with a clerk and review the data personally. Not mailing in a piece of paper, no appeal board, just sitting down with somebody who knows how to run a computer, knows the data, so that they can make sure it's right, one-on-one. Those will be occurring in the spring, and when that's done, on or before July 1st, that's when the official values go out. None of this affects taxes until 2026. I say that at every meeting. We got lots of time between now and the end of the year before any of this affects tax bills next year. When we get to those formal appeals that I mentioned, the county will be creating, in addition to the primary board, appeal board that they have now, they will be creating up to 5 additional auxiliary appeal boards, which is permitted under assessment law in a year of a reassessment. To do that, they will be looking for a pool of about 20 residents of the county to serve on those appeal boards. The specifics of that are being worked on, but typically those specs include resident of the county, that's in the law, high school diploma, several years of experience, but they're not an appraiser. They do not have to understand appraisal or how values are done. They actually get training on the process of how appraisals are done and how the reassessment was done, so they know what the procedures were. But they don't make a judgment about value from an appraisal point of view. They make it a judgment based upon sitting and listening to the property owner present their information. It's not a hearing in a court sense. Appeals are an administrative appeal, but there is a 3-member panel that will hear the evidence of the property owner. Maybe that is an appraisal. Maybe it's a comps analysis that the property owner did on their own. I personally hope we don't need appeals for anything if it's a data problem. I want to deal with those in those early informal reviews. But let's say we change the data's right, the sales from the last 4 years indicate that the property is going to sell for $200,000, but you're convinced it's only worth $120,000. Then you're going to go to an appeal and you're going to explain and present, the property owner will present their evidence as to why they feel it's only worth $120,000. That appeal board is going to evaluate it from an analytical point of view, weigh the value of the evidence. Is there an appraisal? Does it tell them, is everything accurate? If the assessment is wrong, it gets changed by the appeal board. And honestly, it doesn't cost the county, the school, or the municipality any money if there's reductions during those appeals, because the millage is just equalized differently at the end of the process. Remember, this is all revenue neutral. No taxing body is allowed to make $1 from a reassessment. Whatever increases people get, somebody else is getting a reduction. So all of that gets figured out at the end of the process, including at the end of the formal appeals. So if you know folks that might be interested in serving as an auxiliary appeal board member, I will warn you, it's a tedious process. This is not a part-time, 2 hours a day kind of a thing. When we're in the middle of the appeals, it's an all-day thing, 5 days a week. Not that people don't get to take their vacation and schedule, but that's why you have a pool. But it is full-time work during the appeal window for those folks that provide this service to the rest of the constituents of the county. That's all I had today, but if there's any questions immediately, I'll be happy to take them. Otherwise, I'll be across the hall in the assessment office.
Yeah, these people that you have.
Hold on, George. Tim, when you have these meetings in these schools, how are you gonna advertise them? How are you gonna let the people know where they're at? Because it can't just be, we come here and say it. Like,
Right.
I want it up on the county website, on your website, some advertisement in papers, on the radio, something. I want people to know about this.
Absolutely. No,
Across the county.
once we know exactly when and where, and which schools, or they might be at a middle school, it could be at a library.
Okay.
Once we know the when and the where, we'll make sure it's on the county assessment office. Frankly, we can put it on the county's homepage.
Yeah.
So there's an alert there. We'll put it on Vision's reassessment webpage. I'll be in touch with all of the print and electronic media.
Yeah, so I want it in the papers. I want it,
Absolutely.
so people that don't don't use computers or smartphones, that read the paper or listen to the radio, I want them to know that they're having these meetings.
Well, and if somebody can't go to the meeting in North Schuylkill because their kid's in a soccer game that day, they can come to the Pottsville meeting. You're not limited to what, you can come to all of them if you want. But there will be a blitz, because this is the most important outreach that we will do from the entire reassessment. We only had 3 kickoff meetings. We're doing 5 of these because we need to be sure we get the Blue Mountain folks and the Pine Grove folks better than we did for the kickoff. This will be the main thing that we use to communicate with people, because the minute those values go in the mail Everybody wants to talk about their situation, their parcel. If I'm in a room with 500 to 1,000 people, and you want to talk about, I don't think my property's worth what you say it is, come to an informal review once you get your notice. I will deal with it one at a time because that's the process. These public meetings are about the overall process. We'll have examples. We'll talk a lot about clean and green. If there's any farmers or foresters that are not in clean and green yet, but should be, we'll make sure we're answering those questions. If people have questions about homestead, farmstead, we're going to talk about homestead farm. If you are a resident of this county, your primary residence is in this county, you should have that house signed up as a homestead so that you get any and all discounts that might be available under the law. All of that information will become part of this. I look forward to when we get to that point because I will have better answers and better examples from Schuylkill about how it really is revenue neutral. You know, people losing their homes and some of those, not to say some folks aren't going to be dealing with increases that are difficult, but there are also people who are struggling to pay their taxes today and don't realize they've been overassessed for decades. And they're going to be so happy that their taxes are going to be going down in 2026. Because I can tell you, I'm not making this up, for every $100 somebody pays more, there is another family out there that is paying $100 less. That's the only way reassessments work under Pennsylvania law, and you can't pick, there's no picking and choosing who the winners and losers are. It falls down how the reassessment is. 30 years is a long time between reassessments, so the shifts are big. It's not like Maryland, where they reassess every 3 years and the values just move little bits because you're constantly adjusting. In Pennsylvania, this is the first time this has been done in 30 years. 1996 is the last time a reassessment was implemented in this county. I was here for that reassessment. This is about making it more fair, making sure that the seniors and the non-seniors and the fixed income and the non-fixed income and everybody, the commercial property owners, the people that are trying to rent and that's built into the rent, everybody needs to pay taxes based on what the law defines. And right now that's not the way it is. So I take it very personally that this is an opportunity, it's the only reason I've been doing it so long, to fix a dreadful situation and make it better than where it was when we started. So with that, I'll get off the soapbox a little bit, but we're in a good place to make all of this better. It is going to be a very busy year as we go through the process, and I encourage people to take advantage of every opportunity that we set up for them. Any other questions?
Did he answer your question, George?
I just want to know how these people that went out and did the reassessment for your outfit, what kind of training did they have?
Those are data collectors. They didn't do the reassessment, they just did data collection, and we provided training to them on how to collect the information on the paper card, how to measure a house, how to use a tape measure, how to count number of stories, how high is it, how to determine that this is a garage, this is part of the living area. And some of it gets a little bit interesting, like for example, I think you may have a construction background, if you see a hose bib sticking out the side of a house, that's deep. So that's probably where the wall separates the garage from the living room. Because I can't tell where the garage stops and the living room ends. I'm not peering through the windows. But if there's a hose bib there, it's one of the things we tell them to look for. Because that hose bib doesn't stick out into the living room. That's probably where the inside wall is. So that's the training, but they're only collecting the physical description of the property. The appraisal work is done by people licensed by the state to do mass appraisal of real estate. And we have a large number of what's called CPE, Certified Pennsylvania Evaluators, that are working on the values. But the data collectors are just data collectors.
And for your acreage or whatever kind of property, how long your property is and everything like that, do they do that too?
No, that's based on county's existing records.
Okay.
How big the lot is and all of that comes from the county's existing records. If you get your informal review or you get to some point and you think there's a problem with your acreage, then we're going to direct you to the assessment office to verify that. Any others for now?
Okay, let's move on.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Can I have a motion to approve Commissioners meeting minutes of January 15th?
So moved.
Second,
My question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve the work session minutes from the meeting of January 22nd?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve what was presented by the grant writers, the 21 items they presented?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve the 3 items that planning and zoning presented at the work session?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve what was the 2 items that were presented by the Office of Senior Services?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve the item that was presented by Court Administration at the work session?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve the 2 items that were presented at the work session by the Solicitor's Office?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report from our work session?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion to approve what was presented on behalf of the county administration on the work session?
So moved.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Can I have a motion, or human resources?
Morning Commissioners, in 911 communications, we have the promotion of Stephen Aradis to senior shift supervisor from shift supervisor. The rate is 34.1482, effective 1/27/25. In drug and alcohol, the appointment of Alicia Yost, case management specialist trainee, the rate is 20.9185, effective 2/10/25. Additionally, we have 2 informational items. The clerk of courts, the appointment of Stephanie Kindly as a clerk 3, effective 2/3/25. The rate is per the contract. In the controller's office, the appointment of Ashley Graver as an auditor accountant per diem, effective 1/27/25. All appointments are pending drug test and physical where appropriate, and all actions involving salary or positions being created are pending salary board approval. That is all.
Can I have a motion for the 911 communication promotion and the drug and alcohol appointment?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
and Commissioner Hess.
yes,
Finance office, it's not listed for informational purposes, and it's posted out there. Okay, what? No, I don't, there's nothing going on there, it's all informational, right? Yeah. Is there any new business?
Motion adjourned.
Salary board, report of any executive sessions,
There were none held.
public comment for salary board? None, okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our reorganization meeting of January 6th?
So moved.
second,
No question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
yes,
Controller Yekenship. Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting on January 15th?
So moved.
second,
Any question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
yes,
Controller Yekenship. Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on January 22nd?
So moved.
Yekenship. Yes.
Human resources.
In 911 communications, we have a wage increase for Nicholas Majakis, the 911 GIS mapping coordinator. The rate is 29.3596, that's effective 1/27/25. Also in 911 communications, set salary for Stephen Rabbit, senior shift supervisor. The rate is 34.1482, that is effective 1/27/25. In drug and alcohol, we have set salary for Alicia Yost, case management specialist trainee. The salary is 20.9185, and it's effective 2/10/25. Also in drug and alcohol, create the position of recovery support specialist, effective 1/29/25. In the controller's office, create the position of auditor accountant per diem. The rate is $90 per hour, effective 1/27/25. And then set salary for Ashley Graver in that position at the rate of $90, effective 1/27/25.
Now a motion for the 2 911 communications.
So moved.
second,
Any question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
yes,
Controller Yekenship. Yes.
Got a motion for the 2 drug and alcohol positions.
So moved, sir.
Second,
On the question?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
yes,
Controller Yekenship. Yes.
Can I have a motion for the two control?
Commissioner Fedora,
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
yes.
Controller Yekenship. Yes.
Is there any new business for salary board?
Motion adjourned.
Motion over. Thank you.